Hi everyone, been a bit since I've done one of these videos. I've had a few things, some family things to tend to, so haven't um, been able to sit down and kind of churn one of these out. Let me get the, there, that should be better. Um, so, uh, hope everyone is doing okay, given everything going on in this world. Some uplifting news. I was just watching New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo with his daily briefing, and he noted that in New York State alone, there are 76,000 plus healthcare volunteers. So folks who are giving their time to volunteer to help people during this. And when I heard him say that, I got a little bit emotional because for that number of people to come forward and put, I would imagine most of them put their lives at risk to help others, reminds me of one, how much I love New York, and I'm sure it's happening all over the country too, and just this sort of human condition and how we come to each other's aid, even in the hardest of times. So I don't mean to sound, I don't even know how I'm sounding, but I figured I'd share a little bit of positive news. I believe Governor Cuomo said that the majority of those workers are in hospitals, so they are right on the front lines. And again, they're volunteering. These stories need to be shared more through this, during this, and when we hopefully get past this. These people should be praised and applauded for doing what they're doing. Which sort of leads into what I'm gonna cover today. I wanted to talk about 10 records that give me joy. And all my records in some respect give me, music can evoke a million different emotions, but I tried to really sort of hone in on the records that lift my spirits and make me feel hopeful about the day or the hour or life. So I did it fairly quickly, just scanned through my records and grabbed the first 10 that sort of struck me, and here they are. Number one is the Sam Cooke live album, live at the Harlem Square Club. One of the greatest live recordings ever. When friends of mine and I, when we talk about if we could go back in time and be at any concert, this is usually my number one. It sounds sort of by the number of folks clapping and cheering that it's a pretty small room, and Sam Cooke is just absolutely on fire. Just a tremendous live recording, just top to bottom, having a party, Chain Gang, Cupid, Twisting the Night Away. It is just a show that is just one of the greatest. So I would highly recommend checking this out. Just a jubilant recording. I think, yeah. Sam Cooke, live at the Harlem Square Club. Number two, this is sort of a nod to my mother, who I've mentioned in a number of these videos, who has turned me on to, or did turn me on to, a lot of music when I was a kid, and that was mostly driving around. And I remember she had two different cars. First she had a Pinto. Remember those were, I think, pulled off the road because the gas tanks would explode. That didn't happen to us, fortunately, but My mother did have a Pinto. I remember it had like wood paneling on the sides, and I thought it was such a cool car. Uh, and then after that, she drove a Buick. Man, this thing was a beast. Um, Huge seats and uh, just a classic old. Uh, Felt like it was a Jersey car, which is where we were from, New Jersey. But she would always play the oldies station, and we would often hear a lot of Buddy Holly. So this is the Buddy Holly Lives collection. Came out in 1978. Buddy Holly's music just makes me smile. Um, Incredible that he was able to record so many uh, great songs when I believe he was 22 or 23. I believe he was 22 when he died in a plane crash. Um, just a tremendous talent, one of the all-time greats, and these songs will lift your spirits. Next collection is also a tribute to one of my dearest friends and a former boss of mine back in 1998 to 2000. She now lives in Idaho, and at one time, for a long time, I think it was while we were even working together and following that, she was very involved with this band's management. I believe she oversaw their fan club and maybe their website. She did merch for them. She did a lot of stuff. She's one of my dearest friends, and this is the very best of Daryl Hall and John Oates. Sort of one of those artists that probably when I had my sort of musical awakening in the late 90s, early 2000s, I was probably a little bit too indie pretentious to listen to these guys. But as I've gotten older, these songs are just so fun. Rich Girl, Kiss on My List, Private Eyes, One on One. You have John Oates' amazing mustache and Daryl Hall's amazing feathered hair. Really feathered here too. I think that's feathered. Listen to Daryl Hall and John Oates. It will help raise your spirits. Here's some more great tracks or shots of these guys, along with a nice sort of biography. So, Hall & Oates. Next, this one was sort of a surprise. I scanned past this artist, and this album sort of stood out to me. This is an album of covers, of Pete Seeger covers by one of my favorites, Bruce Springsteen. This record is called The Seeger Sessions, We Shall Overcome. Just a gorgeous record, came out in the mid, I think 2006, somewhere around then. The type on this, the font is very hard to read, even with my glasses on. But some great uplifting tracks. Old Dan Tucker, Jesse James, John Henry, and then Pay Me My Money Down, that's a great one. And then some tracks to kind of just beautiful sort of pastoral, I don't know if that word fits there, but songs like Shenandoah, We Shall Overcome. Just a beautiful record, and not really talked about enough in terms of Bruce's best, maybe because it's a covers album, but it is really an uplifting record. Next, this one really is if I'm driving or if I'm running, this is one of the albums that I go to. It's probably in the top 3 of albums that I go to sort of inject some energy into myself. And this is the LCD Sound System record, Sound of Silver, which I think is their best record. Came out on DFA, which is say James Murphy of LCD Sound System, his own label. It's a nice gatefold, it's beautifully packaged. Some of their best songs, Get Innocuous and To Time to Get Away, is a really great way to start a record. Those 2 tracks are awesome. Someone Great, All My Friends, New York I Love You But You're Bringing Me Down. This is a wonderful record, one of the best indie rock records ever made. Next, how many I got left? How many do I have left? 5. So we're midway through. And this artist I probably listened to the most in 2020, more than anyone else. Well, Purple Mountains is sort of, I don't know if I'm just going to keep listening to that record regularly forever, but I've listened to it a lot this year. I can't remember when it came out, but it is a remarkable record. But this is not Purple Mountains. This is Warren Zevon's record, Excitable Boy. It came out in '78 on Elektra. Opens up with Johnny Strikes Up the Band. They could have opened with Johnny Strikes Up the Band and then 10 duds, and this record would still be worth listening to because Johnny Strikes Up the Band is so great. But it also has Excitable Boy, Werewolves of London, Accidentally Like a Martyr, Lawyers, Guns, and Money. What a great songwriter he was. And he had a classic, there's the back, Warren Zevon, I'm sure many people will know this, but he died of cancer. I can't remember the year, but just prior to it, he sort of did I don't know if it was a tour, but he was on a lot of talk shows, and just because he had a record that he released just prior to his passing. I think he recorded it while he was going through chemo, and he was on David Letterman, and I remember David Letterman was asking him if he had any wisdom, just given what he was going through, and he said, "Enjoy every sandwich." And I've shared that with many, many people. I think it's a very straightforward sort of piece of, or an anecdote to sort of ground yourself. Whenever I get a sandwich, I think of that. I think about it a lot when I'm not getting a sandwich, just if I'm sort of lost in my head. I'll come back to that line. Warren Zevon, what a treasure. Next, this came out in 2003. Just one of those records when I put it on, I feel good. I feel happy to be alive. And this is Gillian Welch's Soul Journey. Great back shot. Gillian Welch is one of the best songwriters of my time, of the past 20, 25 years. She does not record many albums. I think her last one was 9 years ago, and this may have been the one that preceded it. So if I'm not mistaken, that's 2 records in 17 years. All her records are fantastic. But this, Look at Miss Ohio, Wayside Back in Time, Lowlands, Wrecking Ball, this is just an incredible record. Took a while for her label Acony, I don't know, I think that's how you pronounce it, ACONY, to start to release her stuff on vinyl. But they recently have been, not everything, but a couple, her last 2 records are out on vinyl, and just a treasure. I would, if you don't know Gillian Welch, give a listen, and then you can listen to all of her records. They're all great. Couple more to go. This came out in 2013, a reissue. I mention him all the time. Nick Drake. This is a collection that I think is probably somewhat hard to find. Has a number of his best songs, Northern Sky, Fly, One of These Things First, which is my favorite Nick Drake song. Nick Drake has 3 records. This is, again, a collection, but of his 3 records, they're all 5 stars, perfect. I would just listen to any one of them. Brighter Later is my favorite, but 5 Leaves Left and Pink Moon are also perfect. Listen to them with headphones. I believe all the music is Nick Drake in all of his records. I may not be right on that, but I think he plays all the instruments. So Nick Drake, whether it's this collection or any of his proper albums, you cannot go wrong. 2 left. I'm saving the best, what I think is the best for last, a record that I go to sort of when I am in need. But second to last is the record that is just fun, that really just it's just great. 1996, the Beck record Odelay. This is the record that my college friends and I probably listened to most in college, either this or Mellow Gold, which I believe preceded this. But this one, Devil's Haircut, Lord Only Knows, New Pollution, Where It's At, just such a great record just to put on loud and to enjoy. To me, this is Beck at his peak in the mid to late 90s, and you cannot go wrong. Very cool artwork on the back. Beck's Odelay. And finally, this came out in 2012. This artist I discovered via a Wilco show that I saw. It was either a Wilco show or Jeff Tweedy live or solo show, where he played a song. I believe it was when I saw him at the Fillmore when I first heard this. The song "Be Not So Fearful" by this artist Bill Fay. Bill Fay made, I believe, 1 or 2 records in the 70s, and then went dormant for, I believe it was 4 decades. And I think the Tweedy discovering him, I think it was actually Jay Bennett, who was in Wilco and passed away in 2009. I think he may have told Jeff Tweedy about Bill Fay. That may have been sort of the origin. And then Wilco and Jeff Tweedy started performing Be Not So Fearful, which was on one of his records in the 70s. And then again, he went quiet for 40 plus years, and he has just in the last 10-ish years started making records again in, I believe it's 70s. And they're all good. He released one this year, which I haven't listened to enough, but I will. This came out in 2012. Just the tracks, Be At Peace With Yourself is a beautiful, beautiful track. There Is a Valley. He covers Wilco's Jesus, Etc., which has also been covered by Norah Jones and a bunch of others, but Bill Fay does. This World is a great track. Looks like Jeff Tweedy actually sings on that. I had forgotten that. But this is the gatefold Bill Fay. I can't recommend him enough. He's sort of a Nick Drake-ish feel. He's British. This record is called Life Is People, which feels sort of appropriate for the times. Can't recommend it enough. Bill Fay. I'm so glad that he is making records once again. So that's it for the top 10. And then as I have been promised, as I promised, and I've started to remember in the last few videos, I'm going to close with a record that I wish more people knew about. Here, I tried to combine that with a record that puts me in a good mood. And this is the Beulah record. The Coast Is Never Clear. This came out, looks like 2001? 2002. An incredible pop record. Very Beach Boys meets very Beach Boys. It's just, I believe these guys are from San Francisco, because I think Beulah is named after the street in near Amoeba Records. A tremendous, tremendous record. I think they only put out 2 records. This and the one that follows is also great, but this is, The Coast Is Never Clear is an all-time record for me. Very cool artwork too. I don't know where these guys are now. They haven't. The lead singer had put out a solo record, which was actually quite good. I'm trying to find his name. Can't find it. But listen to this on any of your streaming services or find it on vinyl. Beulah, The Coast is Never Clear, a tremendous record, and a record that almost everyone that I've exposed to this record has fallen in love with it. So I would just recommend seeking it out, and if you like it, I bet you'll be going back to it pretty regularly. That's it. First one of these in a couple weeks. Hopefully those are 10 records, or a couple of those records you put on today or during the week that help you to feel a little bit better. Maybe I'll do another one of these, maybe 10 more records to lift our collective spirits. And that's all I got. Again, I hope you are all well, and I will see you soon. Take care.